David, a couple price target increases on NVIDIA, which we're going to get next week. OpCo goes to 175. Then you got this report, David, I know you'd like this stuff, in the Journal, that they're going to bring some chips tailored to humanoid robots in the first half of next year.
Yeah, I'm continued to be focused, and I think a lot of people are, Jim. You completely dismissed it yesterday, and that may be the right move, but on where these large language models may not be advancing as quickly as their engineers may have anticipated. Not sure what you're doing there with your phone there, Jim.
Oh, but, I'm looking at I'm reading the Indonesia tech leaders. Jensen gave a great speech in Indonesia last night. David, you have to read. The Indonesian thing was a huge hit, and they're talking about the need to spend a fortune in Indonesia for the state-owned enterprise, which they are going to do to build on Blackwell. So you may be thinking I'm looking at my phone, I'm looking at pictures of my wife and the fruit that she sent me from Paris. No, I'm talking about Indonesia AI Day, which you're not talking about because you're busy, I don't know, talking to Ben Affleck. How's he doing? What was his latest move? He's doing. Are you talking about the town? This is what I talk about.
He's doing really well. Town was a great movie. He's making another one right now, filming in Bayonne, New Jersey. Yeah, it sounded like a very interesting project. He was wearing a beard for it. Ben sends his best. Yeah, he's doing very well.
You're right.
So thank you for asking.
When I hear Jensen say artificial intelligence will democratize technology, it is the great equalizer, what I really should be thinking about the movie The Accountant, which I really loved, which, by the way, had Bernthal.
Bernthal, your favorite. But listen, in all seriousness, are they running out of data? Video, you've made this point many times, represents another real opportunity to capture a lot more data. But the large language models, it bears watching. I ran into your friend yesterday. Ben Reitzes, I think. You love his work, right? Melius, right?
Melius, he's my friend. You wanted to know why I wasn't at your thing.
Yeah, a lot of people wanted to know why you weren't at our thing. It was CNBC's delivering alpha, Jim, not mine.
I wasn't that's kind of inside baseball, David. We tend not to go there. But I will say, David,
what do you mean? I wish you'd been there. Everybody was asking me where you were. Well, that's all I got. Where's Jim?
Well,
Where's Jim?
You can be two places at once with AI. David, I do think that we have to focus on the fact that they may not have enough to train on. Go back to what Zuckerberg said on his conference call, that Meta AI would be the #1, and that's because he's got things to train on. He's got more than 3.5 billion people. He can look at their stuff. And by the way, can I just tell you, when you Google, when you try to get from Claude or from ChatGPT, an instant analysis of somebody that just of Disney and Iger, forget about it. They'll tell you, well, you know what? I had one yesterday which said they don't report till November 17th, and I was like looking at the conference call. They're wrong too much. They're wrong too much. So they need to get right.
I know.
They don't even have the latest and greatest. They don't have Rubin. You need Rubin.
No. They need Rubin. They do. I keep saying that all the time. Where is Rubin when you need him?
They need Zingermans. No, I mean, look, David, you got to follow this charm offensive of Jensen, country after country. It's
country, podcast after podcast after podcast. He's everywhere all at once. Maybe he is an avatar as well. Similar to what Andrew Sorkin and I did yesterday for Delivering Alpha, where we had previously created our own avatars as well, and then we kind of presented them. Take a listen.
Hi, it's me, Andrew.
And I'm David. But don't call me Dave.
Good point. And never ever call me Andy.
Point taken.
So, this is us. Now avatars. Artificial intelligence. AI me is almost as good as Squawkbox me.
But let's be honest. Squawkbox you isn't nearly as good as Squawkbox me. Those were the golden years of Squawk.
David, even your avatar is cutthroat.
Those were completely computer generated. That was, we did go to and have our voice and our head movements and our images shot, but that wasn't us. That wasn't video. And that's the future, guys. Or in fact, that's the present. You can see it's still not quite capturing every emotion, human emotion, sort of in the way you inflect and the way you speak, but it's getting awfully close.
Well, but David, let's say you ran a dictatorship, I don't know, like 1.4 billion people, I mean, just like throwing it out there, and you wanted to be able to put people in prison, well, couldn't you just generate them saying something against whatever government there might be? And then you say, hey, listen, I'm sorry, and throw away the key. I mean, can't you do that?
I hadn't thought of that, Jim, but that's scary. But yes, conceivably.
I think we're actually in really early innings of the artificial intelligence world and the paradigm in terms of both investment and in effect. We will, over the course of time, see the productivity increases and the benefits. Right now, we're really at the very early parts of investment. And that's still all the build out, whether we talk about infrastructure build out for data centers or power that's going to be needed to power artificial intelligence efforts. CapEx is in its early days. And I think this has got a long multi-year, certainly even multi-decade potential in terms of its impact on productivity and investment. So I don't think we're anywhere near getting topped out on the investment.
Those comments come after a number of recent reports do question whether or not we're getting into some plateauing in the power of generative AI from the likes of OpenAI and Google and Anthropic. Although Sam Altman did tweet a few hours ago, quote, "There is no wall." That's all he said. And we can only guess at what he was referring to, but this may well be it.
Right, that the innovation is full speed ahead, I guess, despite some of the concerns about the contrary. I think they were highlighted on the Andreessen Horowitz podcast. NVIDIA is up again. It's up 1.6%. I'm not sure what Ann was referring to, if that means, stay long NVIDIA or what. I also, this came up in the conversation with Nelson Peltz too, because, he invests in the more old school consumer companies. We talked a lot about Unilever in particular. And he made an interesting analogy to other companies that have been shells of themselves that just haven't used technology in an effective way. So when he looks at brands like Dove soap, which everybody always wants, but how they're using this Gen AI to power marketing and produce efficiencies and productivity. So it really is an analysis tool for all investors, even in stocks that don't have anything to do with chips.
Yet.
Exactly.
And then, of course, Andrew and David showed off their avatars, and that's just what's possible today. God knows what it's going to be like in a year. Speaking of NVIDIA, we are going to get earnings next week. Got three interesting calls on the stock today. OPCO goes to 175. Ray J goes to 170. Deutsche is really the only net skeptic, I would say. They keep 115. They argue that the revenue upside may not be as potent this quarter as it's been in prior quarters. The average revenue beat last 5 quarters is $2 billion.
It's been a good run.
Yeah.
But that's a high bar when it comes to earnings expectations.
Hey, Dave, before I let you go, you just mentioned AI. NVIDIA, everyone's building up to it. They report next week, 4 upgrades today. But semiconductors in general are bifurcated, right? So the semiconductor index is at an all-time high. Only 25% of the names in that are even above their 200-day moving average. It feels like something's got to give. Either the rest of the semiconductors come back or NVIDIA pulls down.
Yep, no, it's a great point. Look, we were looking, do we take off our semiconductor exposure? We're leaving our semiconductor exposure on. We got NVIDIA earnings coming up here. I think you got to get NVIDIA earnings out of the way. I think that's going to, again, clear the path for another leg higher for semis. I think this is an answer to prayers for in a lot of ways. If you've been looking to get in on semis, use this as an advantage. I think post-NVIDIA earnings is going to be too late, Charles. So I think this is a great time to put new money to work.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a whole lot of quiet names down there that could be opportunistic. David, thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate it.
All right, I hope you're all doing great today. The S&P finished the day about 0.6% lower after we got PPI that was slightly hotter than expected this morning. And NVIDIA finished the day about 0.33% higher. Next Wednesday, November 20th is the day. NVIDIA reports fiscal third quarter results after market close. And today we got multiple price target upgrades ahead of next week's earnings. I expect NVIDIA to report great numbers and increase their forward-looking guidance. That being said, I have no idea how market participants will react to these earnings. And the fact that analysts are raising their price targets right now means that the bar is being lifted even higher than it already was. So I don't know how the market will react to this report. Regardless of how the market reacts in the short term, I am bullish on the long-term future of NVIDIA. As for next Wednesday, I'm especially looking forward to getting an update on the production ramp of Blackwell. At NVIDIA's last earnings conference call, we were told that Blackwell would begin shipping in Q4, and that NVIDIA was expecting several billion in Blackwell revenue during the first quarter that it ships. Several means 2, but not many. So let's just say they were expecting $3 to $4 billion from Blackwell in Q4. With this in mind, I'm curious to see if NVIDIA raises their Q4 Blackwell guidance. If NVIDIA raises their guidance guidance for Q4 Blackwell revenue noticeably higher than $3 to $4 billion, then I think the stock likely trades higher on that news. Regardless of that, I am bullish on NVIDIA long-term, and I genuinely would not be surprised if this company doubles over the next 2 years. I have no idea what multiple market participants will apply to the stock during that time, but if the underlying business grows, then the stock is of course likely to follow. The demand for NVIDIA's products is insane. Hyperscalers have yet to show any signs of slowing down their capex spending on AI, and we have a clear product roadmap from NVIDIA for the next 2 years. This year we get the launch of Blackwell, then Blackwell Ultra in 2025, and later on Rubin is scheduled to arrive in 2026. And therefore, as long as everything remains peaceful in the Pacific, and as long as none of the hyperscalers significantly reduce their capex, then I think NVIDIA should be just fine for at least the next 1 to 2 years. Really quick, I want to address 2 concerns regarding NVIDIA that I've been hearing a lot recently. Those concerns are tariffs and Supermicro. First, regarding Supermicro, let me be clear. As long as the situation is unique to Supermicro, then I do not think it matters to NVIDIA in the grand scheme of things. If we find out that multiple companies are involved, then that changes things. But as long as the situation is contained to just Supermicro, then I think NVIDIA should be just fine. Even if Supermicro were to stop buying from NVIDIA, NVIDIA could just redirect that supply to one of the many other companies waiting in line for whatever they can get from NVIDIA right now. And really quick, let me address the tariff situation. I honestly think this is just short-term noise when it comes to NVIDIA. Both the US government and Elon Musk, who will have a role in the next administration, understand the importance of NVIDIA chips. The incoming administration has been very clear that they want the US to be the leader in AI. And if the US is going to be the leader in AI, then US-based companies must be able to easily access the newest chips from NVIDIA. It's that simple. And so I think the current talk about tariffs is just short-term noise when it comes to NVIDIA. As long as there is peace in the Pacific, and as long as none of the hyperscalers significantly reduce their capex, then I think NVIDIA should be just fine for at least the next 1 to 2 years. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.